What are you here for?
Because I wanted to testify to say that she
You
has
wanted
money.
to testify to what end?
To the fact that she has money.
And later today,
he had a little girl hissy fit and punched holes in the walls to add to the damages.
I did punch 2 holes in the wall, but it's a piece of wood paneling that can't cost more than $100 to replace.
It's Joe time.
Please raise your right hand.
College senior Jeremiah Peterson is suing his former tenant for back rent and damages to his property. Defendant Gabriel Roy claims the plaintiff is a slumlord.
Let's go to you first, sir. Now, sir, this was a tenant of yours?
Yes.
And what is it that he is renting?
He's renting a 1-bedroom.
A house or?
1 bedroom in a house.
In a house. So he would be
in my
boarding
house.
in a house. In your house. All right. Now, what sort of rental agreement did you have with him?
We have a lease here.
Please, if you'd pass that up, Miss Sonia, if you'd be so kind.
A generic lease from October to August.
Same year or different years?
It was from 2004, October 2004 to August of 2005.
The rent was to be $450 per month. Is that correct?
Correct. Eventually, once I moved back into the house, he moved into a smaller room because he was living in my bedroom, and then we lowered the rent to $350 because it was smaller.
Now, what do you claim to be the delinquency relative to just the rent issue?
$800.
How many months is that?
Technically, it was from 2 months. I mean, if you want to put it that way, you could basically say from 2 months and a half. But the fact is that he never paid rent very fast or on time, and a lot of times in small segments. So there's a lot of accounting to do. Technically, part of what he owes is still from, several months before that.
Now, did he stay on the premises for the entire term of this lease?
Yes, Your Honor. He wanted to stay until the end. He wanted to stay afterwards, but I wouldn't allow him because he didn't pay me I told him he could stay there if he paid me all the money he owed. And when finally, towards the end, I knew he couldn't pay me all the money because he had no job, he had no motivation. I knew he couldn't pay it. When I told him he couldn't, he had a little girl hissy fit and punched holes in the walls to add to the damages. In the court, I have $800, and I have it split up, $200 for the holes he put upstairs.
Well, your estimate says for full replacement and labor for upstairs ranging from $80 to $100 and downstairs ranging from $480 to $4,000, depending upon whether you wanted complete repair or only repair for partial repair for the worst of the damages.
And I'm really asking only for a small fraction of it, mainly because I know Gabe has no money in the first place. And I'm only asking enough so I can fix it myself.
What's the problem?
The problem is the house, and I have proof of it here, wasn't up to code the entire time I lived there. And? I did punch 2 holes in the wall.
Why did you do that?
And I apologize for that. I was angry and lost my temper.
Well, what gives you the prerogative of taking out your anger by punching holes in the wall?
Nothing. It was a mistake.
But, I mean, don't you think that's a little inappropriate? No, I guess not.
I think it's inappropriate. I wasn't...
But you hear about it so often. Everybody does it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back with more Judge Joe Brown in a moment.
Those beer kegs.
Those weren't my kegs. I didn't buy them. I didn't leave them there. And I've drank beer underage with Jeremiah before I even moved in. So it's not like he would have stopped that.
By the way, you're supposed to return them for the deposit. Somebody might want them.
I didn't buy them.
When you're underage, it's hard to do so, Your Honor.
Closed captioning sponsored.
We're back with Judge JudgeJBrown. The plaintiff in this case says after being deployed to Iraq, he rented a room to a friend and had him sign a lease. He says the defendant threw a hissy fit when confronted about money and punched in the walls. Let's take a look.
What's the problem here? Now, understand I've got photographs, right?
But the wall downstairs, those estimates are... Yeah, that's right there. The picture was up there. It's a piece of wood paneling that can't cost more than $100 to replace.
For goodness sakes, how do you manage? You aren't that tall. How do you manage to put holes in the ceiling?
The ceiling?
How about that one?
I honestly have no idea how that happened. I really don't.
You told me you were drunk. That was your excuse.
Well, then I don't remember.
Well,
I don't know, but I have no idea how the ceiling happened. And that wall is in an unfinished basement. It's a piece of wood paneling. Whoever did that estimate isn't right.
It's a piece of wood paneling.
Mm-hmm. In an unfinished basement on a, like, half wall. It was barely even a wall.
How do you come to have this knowledge about building and construction material?
I lived in the house for a year. I know that the wall isn't thicker than an inch at all.
Well, did you have access to kitchen facilities?
Yes. Everyone that lived in the house had use of the kitchen.
The same kitchen you did?
Uh-huh.
Was there anyone else living there with you?
Yes, there are 3 other people living there with me, which was over the occupancy of the house.
Oh, now you're going to talk about I'm going to bring out codes and show what a bad guy he was.
Right here, this is a inspection from the city that my former roommate requested because of the horrible condition of the house.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
And I got this from the city. There's about 6-7 pages of things wrong with the house, including the main thing, maximum occupancy is 3 unrelated people, and I was the 4th person living in there.
What's the matter, Party Central?
Yeah, it was pretty nuts there.
Mm-hmm. Those beer kegs.
Those weren't my kegs. I didn't buy them. I didn't leave them there. And I've drank beer underage with Jeremiah before I even moved in. So it's not like he would have stopped that.
By the way, you're supposed to return them for the deposit. Somebody might want them.
I didn't buy them.
When you're underage, it's hard to do so, Your Honor.
Well, that's the other problem. Underage drinking in the facilities. But you're responsible. And they were complaining
That's
about
Jeremiah's
that.
Responsibility.
That you didn't clean up that.
That I didn't clean up that.
Mm-hmm.
What proof do we have of the other tenants saying
the
anything?
bottom line is other tenants. And you say that the plaintiff was an absentee landlord, a slum landlord.
Yep, that's what the house looked like the whole time I lived there.
That's the point. The whole time you lived there.
It wasn't because of me. That's how it looked when I moved in, too.
But he's an absentee landlord leaving this rental property just open and poor tenants suffering, right? Oh, my. And you called him, I see in your answer, a lot of times to complain about this, and what are you going to do about it? I think what you did is you emailed him a lot, right?
I did a few times, yeah.
All right. Now, 1 or 2 of the times that you emailed him, he couldn't get back to it from what I think was going on here for some unusual reasons. Amongst other things, the location of his laptop was the subject of some incoming rounds. At the time you're accusing him of being an absentee landlord, he was deployed in a hot combat area.
It's not, the issue is not what Jeremiah was doing. The issue is that he should have appointed someone who would take care of his landlord duties while he was gone or sold the house.
Now, before you became a tenant, you came in and inspected the house, I see.
Yes, and Jeremiah promised me that my room downstairs would be cleaned and that the rest of the house would be cleaned.
Where else were you going to stay, son?
I didn't have anything else on my mind. I had just been looking around, and I found the house, and it seemed affordable, and it seemed like the people would be fun to live with. There you go.
Judge Joe Brown makes his ruling at
Did a former lover wreck your life and your credit? Call 877-JOE'S-LAW or visit JudgeJBrown.com.
See, I'm looking at the relative merits of the 2 of you in terms of what you have done with your life. It's like if I have an employment position and I have applicants for that position and I look at their resumes. I'd hire him for the job, not you.
I never got my damage deposit back either.
Well, you're not entitled to it because you trashed the place. That's willful,
The place
wanton,
was trashed
and...
when I moved in.
Now,
Sorry.
enough. I'm not arguing with you because the only opinion that matters in here is mine, and you're beginning to try my patience.
I'm sorry, Andy.
I find your award should be $4,860, which is what I add up to reasonably on what your estimates are and your court costs.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Award accordingly.
This courtroom is now in recess. Sir, go ahead and exit.
Well, you'd think the defendant in this case was a contractor, the way he tossed out estimates. He admits he added to the damages, but says the plaintiff was a slumlord, and that's worse. The judge did not like that logic or his attitude. He will pay. We'll be right back.
Next on Judge Joe Brown. Did her son's wild outburst send his roommate to the ER?
He hit me like in the back of the head like twice. And I wasn't gonna hit him because he's underage.
Next, Joe.
We're back. The defendant's list of violations against his landlord meant nothing next to the damages he created. He criticized the plaintiff for being absent, but the judge says while he was fighting in Iraq, the defendant could have stepped up at the house.